Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're not just going to talk about business theory. No, we're going on a journey, the founder's journey. We're going to use entrepreneurial marketing as our guide, our compass, to navigate the path from just a spark of an idea all the way to a real validated business. So let's get started.
You know, at the very core of every single great business, there's a simple truth. It's got nothing to do with flashy ads or clever taglines. It's all about finding a source of market pain, a real problem, a frustration that people have, and then creating the perfect cure for it. That, right there, is your mission as an entrepreneur.
Okay, let's clear something up right off the bat. So many people think marketing is about tricking people into buying stuff they don't want or need. That's not marketing, that's just hucksterism. Real marketing, it's the complete opposite. It's a thoughtful process of creating genuine value, figuring out how to communicate that value, and then actually delivering on your promise.
All right, with that foundation set, let's dive into Section 1, the entrepreneur's mission. This is all about the unique challenge you face right at the starting line.
I mean, think about this for a second. Unlike some big established company, you are starting from absolute zero. You have no brand recognition, you don't have a built-in audience. Your job isn't just to remind people you exist, it's to persuade them to take a leap of faith on something totally new. It's definitely tougher, but honestly, it's way more exciting.
So, how in the world do you navigate a challenge like that? Well, you need a map. And that brings us to Section 2. We're going to lay out a 7-step roadmap that'll guide you through the whole marketing process.
This 7-step process is your guide, and trust me, the order here is absolutely critical. See how it all kicks off with understanding customer needs? You have to start there. Only then do you develop the product, price it, and tell people about it. But the journey doesn't stop when they buy something. Nope, it continues through delivery, making sure they're happy, and ultimately building a real long-term relationship. That's the secret to a business that actually lasts.
Now, every adventurer needs a good toolkit, right? In marketing, we call that your marketing mix. So let's open it up and see what tools you'll be using to actually build this venture of yours.
Now, what's so interesting here is that your toolkit actually changes based on what you sell. If you've got a physical product, you're working with the classic 5 Ps. The product itself, its price, how you promote it, the place, like where you sell it, and of course, the people on your team. But if you're selling a service, something you can't touch, you need 3 extra tools. You need physical evidence, like a really clean office to make your service feel tangible. You need a solid process for how you deliver that service consistently every time. And you need to think about productivity, which is all about balancing amazing quality with efficiency.
Okay, we've got our map, we've got our toolkit. Now it's time for the real adventure. Section 4, Finding Your Big Opportunity. This is where the quest truly begins.
This quote from Henry Ford, man, it just perfectly captures this huge, fundamental choice that every single founder has to make. Are you going to give people what they think they want? Or are you going to invent something they don't even know they need yet?
And that question leads you down 2 totally different paths. The first is market fulfillment. That's about finding a pain that already exists and just offering a better, faster, or cheaper cure. The other path, the Henry Ford path, is market creation. This is about inventing something totally new, creating a market where one never even existed. Both can work, for sure, but market creation, that's where legendary things happen.
So whether you're trying to fulfill an existing need or create a whole new market, these opportunities aren't just going to fall into your lap. You've got to be actively looking for them. The skill you need to develop here is called environmental scanning. It's about making it a habit to watch the world around you for important shifts and trends.
And this chart is awesome because it tells us exactly where to look. Big opportunities are almost always born from big changes. Huge shifts in how we live our lives. That's social change. Breakthroughs in what's even possible. That's technological change. And new patterns in how we earn and spend money. That's economic change. These forces are constantly creating new problems that are just waiting for your solution.
So how do you get good at this scanning thing? Well, it's really about changing your habits. It means reading stuff you normally wouldn't, talking to people outside of your usual bubble, and even just paying closer attention to your own frustrations during the day. But the most important thing by far, you have to get out of your office, watch, and just listen to your potential customers where they actually live and work.
All right, so you've scanned the environment, you've spotted a trend, and you've landed on what feels like a brilliant idea. That brings us to our final and maybe most critical section, validating your great idea. This is where we figure out if you've got a real business opportunity or just a cool idea. And here's the reality check, right? Not all ideas are good opportunities. A great opportunity has to check these 5 boxes. It has to solve a problem that's big enough that people will actually pay you to fix it. It needs to have real profit potential. It has to be something your team can actually pull off. It needs to have staying power. And, super important, you have to be able to get the funding to bring it to life.
You know, one of the biggest traps for founders is trying to forecast sales. So many people just make it up, right? They'll say, the market is $1 billion and we'll just get 1%. That is a recipe for disaster. Some people call it financial voodoo. So the question is, how do you get a real number you can actually count on?
You replace the voodoo with data. You go straight to the source and listen to the voice of the consumer, or VOC. This is what we call a bottoms-up approach. Instead of guessing from the top down, you build a realistic forecast from the bottom up, based on what actual potential customers tell you. And the tool you use to gather all this juicy data is your customer value proposition, or CVP. Just think of it as a really short, clear pitch that describes your business, who it's for, and the unique value you're offering them. This is the core concept that you're going to test with real people. And once you have your CVP locked in, the math is surprisingly simple. Seriously, it's just 3 steps. First, you figure out how many potential customers, say families, are in your target area. Second, you show them your CVP and see what percentage say they are likely or very likely to buy from you. That percentage is your VOC score. And third, you multiply all that by how much they usually spend in your category each year.
Let's make this super concrete with an example. Let's say a gourmet food store. The founder started by identifying 10,000 families in his local trade area. Simple enough. Next, he surveyed them with his CVP and found that 20% were likely to buy. That became his VOC score. And finally, he already knew from research that the average family in that area spent about $1,000 a year on these kinds of specialty foods.
So, you just do the math. You take the 10,000 families, you multiply that by the 20% VOC score, and then you multiply that by the $1,000 they spend each year. And what do you get? A potential market of $2 million. Now that is not voodoo. That's a real validated opportunity, built from the ground up with customer data.
And that brings our journey to a close. But hopefully it's just the start of yours. We began with this one simple idea. Great ventures solve a market pain. By following this roadmap, from scanning the world around you to actually listening to your customers, you can find that pain, validate your cure, and turn a simple idea into a real enterprise. So the only question left is, what market pain will you solve?